Je vais parler de this question that's been posed to me recently from someone who's actually considering retiring, which is, what if the worst case scenario happens and I lose all my money? Oh no! What then, smart guy? Hey, XenPuck here. Another day not working for the man. I guess it could also be not working for some lady, and I've always liked my lady bosses, but I guess the reality is that most bosses are still dudes. Not that that matters, I just don't need to have someone tell me what to do, right? That's why we retire early, right? To have the flexibility and freedom to do what we want instead, not what anyone else wants. So today I want to explore how I mentally prepare for the worst case scenario, since I no longer draw a regular paycheck. I know, I can only provide anecdotal evidence from my own position, obviously, but hopefully you can apply some of the gist of what I'm saying to your own specific circumstances, right? The basic question is simple. How do I manage the worst cases, and what would I do if such scenarios happen? And most importantly, which one of these scenarios might force me back to having a job again? You know, shame back into the workforce. Oh no, the horror! Anyway, if you're intrigued by what I might say, please subscribe, like, comment, and share, and all that social media buzzwords or whatever, because I am rich enough for me and will be great regardless. Okay, scenario number one. Your stock portfolio loses 90% of its value, aka the Great Depression 2.0, a once-in-a-century event. I mean, that literally happened around 100 years ago. So could it happen again? Sure. Is it likely? No. The reason I go with no is because I don't think the US government likes a huge, gigantic, disruptive event like a 90% drop. Frankly, I do think they will do all that is in their power to prevent such a thing from happening again. Well, for me personally, if this scenario happened, would I be sad? Of course, good lord, absolutely, right? But would I have to go back to work? No thank you. Hard pass, please. That's because my wealth isn't solely in the market. If my stock portfolio dropped by 90%, I'd say I'd still be worth like more than 95% of the population, especially for my age group, right? So I would simply leverage hard into my other assets, like real estate, to pay for my regular expenses. The reality, of course, is that if the market drops by 90%, it's probably not the best time to try to look for a job that's even remotely similar to what I left to begin with. Silver lining here, of course. If the market drops 90%, I'm pretty sure I would not be the only one tightening my budget all of a sudden, right? If you guys know anything about me at this point, it's that I can be frugal with the best of them. So if I really need to only spend on essentials for like 5 years while waiting for the market to recover, I can do that. Don't forget that even after the original Great Depression, right? Sure, it took a while, but the market did recover, right? If given a long enough of time to you know, adjust itself back. Next scenario, right? Not only does your stock portfolio lose 90% of the value, whatever else assets you have, hopefully a house or two, also somehow loses 50% of its value. Since I always suggest that you own at least the house that you live in, that's at least one non-stock asset that we're using to hedge against the market volatility, right? But in this case, sure, let's imagine a meteor just happens to hit your house and the insurance company sticks to the letter of the law and says, well, we didn't explicitly cover damage by extra atmospheric circumstances, but I'm sure they'll want to pay you something just so that they're not being sued too often. That's where I'm getting the 50% valuation from, right? So in this instance, would I go get a job? Most likely, yes, actually. I mean, if whatever assets I had left over cannot cover my living expenses outright, what can I do, right? But in my personal circumstance, again, I think I'd be barely in that whole barista fire, coast fire range. So yeah, I would just go get a regular low-pressure mundane job, most likely for the health insurance benefits. And again, the goal here isn't to make a bunch of money again. In these very worst case scenarios, the global economy would probably also be in the dumps. So maybe service jobs is all that's available, right? But remember, even in this case, I'm in the barista fire stage, which means that all I need to do is maintain my very low standard of living and wait for the sprout that is my portfolio to recover. Maybe it'll take a decade or two, but hey, guess what? Unlike actual seniors, if you're part of the fire crowd, you do actually have multiple decades to wait for that recovery. Just don't sell when all the equities are down, 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 right? You gotta stay disciplined to win. And finally, worst of the worst scenarios, okay? You get hacked or something like that, and now somehow your net worth has dropped to a plain fat zero. Oh no. Well, in specific cases like this, I suppose I would consider moving back with my folks. Yes, I said it. I can't believe I said it, but that's life, right? Because if that happened to me, it would probably result in a massive psychological blow, and I need some time to recover from it, and I would like to avoid defaulting to my childhood home if at all possible. But frankly, I think as long as my wifey's by my side, I wouldn't, right? But in imagining the worst of worst cases, here I am assuming for one reason or another she's not around to support me mentally, right? If that's the case, sure, I'd simply go home. Similar to the last scenario, I will probably get a job again. But is that the worst, and will it break me the idea of rejoining the workforce? No, because I've already gone through major life changes, and I can see examples of such in my own family. A scenario is essentially a life reset in my 40s, right? Would I like it? Obviously not. But can I make it happen? Of course, the real key to success, again, in this scenario is having people who love and support you at a basic level, right? As long as we have those, we can always reconquer our circumstances. I get it, not everyone has these support systems. But if right now you're in the good times, think about how to build one, right? If you weren't lucky enough to be born with one, like I am, right? With supportive parents, right? Don't have those? Get really great friends. That'll be a good substitute. So, in conclusion, I'll always be fine. That's part of being a real adult, right? I already made it to millionaire on my own within about a decade of working one time. So I trust now that I'm older and wiser, I can absolutely do that again. And again, if I really had to, and probably beat my first time, to millionaire status if I was coming back from zero, right? My exercise today was really about imagining the most extreme and still somewhat realistic scenarios of what could go wrong, right? And in my opinion, the worst cases, while bad, are never insurmountable. Why would it be? Anyone interested in fire are go-getters at heart with amazing mental discipline, right? These powers of the mind simply aren't going to disappear just because you let go of an employer relationship, right? So have faith and know that yes, you'll be fine because you are the best. Okay, cheers. I'll approach it.